What are they going to get out of it? Oh, and how are you going to make money? And I think that's exactly how you need to order that. Is the first thing we thought about. It wasn't, okay, how much money, let's create an event that we can make money from, though obviously that's the end result. It was, let's create an event that's a virtual event that we can co-share in, that we can just help the community, this measurement community that we're a part of. What would they want? And let's provide that. So it was very service focused. And oh, and by the way, by the end, if it works out, we'll make some money too, right? That was kind of like the afterthought part of it. So the energy went into making a really good event that people wanted.
Welcome to the Agents of Change, the podcast experience you've been waiting for your entire marketing career. Search, social, mobile, AI, blockchain, and neuromarketing. These are the agents of change, and so are you. Digital marketing success awaits, and your transformation begins now.
Welcome to the Agents of Change podcast. The podcast is all about helping you reach and engage more of your ideal clients online so you can grow your business. My name is Rich Brooks, and I'm your host. This is episode 520, powered by the Agents of Change Digital Marketing Summit, coming this April 24th, 25th, and 26th to a computer near you. All right, today I welcome back one of my favorite guests, someone who I consider a friend, especially after he spoke at this year's Agents of Change conference. The first time he was on this podcast, he spoke about Google Analytics. The next time, he demystified GA4. And this time, he's talking about the nuts and bolts of how he puts on a very successful virtual summit, which is a perfect topic because we are neck deep in planning for our first annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Summit. This has been a ton of work, and I get the impression that I'm nowhere near the summit. In fact, I think I haven't even reached the base camp yet. We've just updated our Agents of Change website, so now there's some information about the summit, how you can pre-register, how you can apply to be a speaker, and even how you can become a sponsor. Now, if you're interested in attending this 3-day, 30-speaker virtual event, then you definitely want to pre-register. That's because people on the pre-registration list will get early notification when the doors officially open, and there are going to be some serious bonuses for people who register right away. What are those bonuses, you ask? I can't tell you. But I can tell you it's going to be worth your while, so you definitely want to sign up. And if you're interested in speaking, jump on that right away too, because spots are going quickly. Finally, if you're looking to reach a bunch of marketers, owners, and entrepreneurs, then you'll want to grab one of our very limited sponsorships. You can get some information on the site for that, or just reach out to me directly. And again, all of that information is at theagentsofchange.com, and you'll see our updated navigation with information about the summit. All right, that's enough information and enough talk about our upcoming summit. Now, on with the show. I mean, sure, I've got a bio for our next guest, likely the same one or a variation of it that I read the first 2 times he came on the show. He was the guy who came on here to talk about Google Analytics. And when I questioned if anybody could actually make Google Analytics interesting on a podcast, well, he proved that at least one person could do it. And then the second time when he came on to talk about GA4, which so many marketers were struggling to wrap their heads around, he made it so damn clear you had to wear sunglasses. But now he's spoken at the Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference. He crushed his presentation and kept people engaged even at the end of 9 hours of marketing content. And he doubled down the next day and kept the whole room engaged when he ran a 3-hour GA4 workshop that I was attending, and even went over by 30 or 40 minutes. I finally had to take out the big hook. He had so much great content to share. It was actually one of those late night gatherings that often happen at conferences where the speakers kick back after a day of presenting and just enjoy each other's company, where the topic for this episode came into focus. I mentioned to our guest that I was considering a virtual summit, and he told me I couldn't do one until I talked to him about how he puts his own on. And he did, and I was impressed and asked him to come on the podcast for a 3rd time and share his approach to creating a virtual summit. Now, his summit is in service of the business he co-founded, measurementmarketing.io. I would call this company one of the premier companies in analytics and helping marketers understand and act on their analytics. They offer a suite of products and classes, and I put all the marketers here at Flight through his classes so they can turn around and help our clients. He has a huge fan base here at Flight New Media from the Agents of Change attendees this year and across the country. In addition to co-hosting Measure Summit, the largest event in the world dedicated to digital measurement, he can be found speaking at conferences, events such as Traffic Conversion, Social Media Marketing World, and of course, the Agents of Change. And today we are diving into putting on your own virtual summits with none other than Chris Mercer. Mercer.
How are you? I love that. That was like the best intro I think I've ever had. That's fantastic.
I got the one off your website and I'm like, I don't need to just regurgitate the same thing that I've said already twice before.
Got to spread that rich magic on it. Yes,
exactly.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Pleasure to be here.
And I was able to use the word Mercer 3 times in a row without it being uncomfortable. It was Chris Mercer. How you doing?
Go.
So there you go.
Mercer. There you go. Works out well.
All right. So I am excited about this. I do think that there's a lot of opportunities for businesses, our listeners, to be putting on their own virtual summits. And so you showed me some behind the scenes stuff. So I just kind of want to talk through it with you today. Let's just start with the why. Why did you decide to put on a summit? What were the goals for you and for measurement marketing?
Yeah, great question. Because we first and foremost, this started with an opportunity. There's a co-brand. So we have the measuremarketing.io brand, where we have the Measurement Marketing Academy, but there is another very popular brand that teaches some analytic stuff. It's called Measure School, right? Great guy, Julian Ginneman runs that. And so as with all the instructors that are in this field, you sort of get to know each other. And so Julian and I had known each other for a little while. And we had a couple of conversations just to kind of touch base. Hey, how's business? What's going on? The latest thing, how are we training this thing or that thing or whatever. And it came to us where it's like, listen, COVID, right? This is right around COVID, when COVID happens. So we already had this relationship. COVID happens. And he was like, listen, there used to be a live event called, there actually still is a live event called Measure Camp. Well, all of the measurement conferences were just gone, right? Because all conferences were gone. You couldn't travel anywhere around the world. And so the thinking was, well, listen, is there a way for us to do 2 things? One, maybe we can work together on other projects, and how well can our 2 uniquely different brands combine to maybe create a third thing, right? So we wanted to be able to test that out. And then when we were thinking about it, it was like, what's a natural fit? Well, there are no live events. So maybe we can do a virtual event, hence Measure Summit, which is what we created. So Measure Summit from year 1 has had 10,000 registered users. And typically between 10,000 and 15,000 registered ticket holders is what we have every year for that event. But that was where the why came from. We wanted to be able to test, can the teams work together? Can we work together as competitors that are also cooperators, right? That co-opetition type feeling on a third thing that we can both share in the proceeds of and help each other out. And both of our companies can get bigger because of that, right? We use it as a vehicle. So that's why we did. And of course, with COVID, it just made sense to go virtual. So that's why we did it.
So 10,000 registrants is a huge number. And you hit that in your first year, you were saying?
Yeah, it was shocking. It really was. Yeah, it's power of an offer, I think.
Right. So I guess the question is, how did you promote it? And what is the why for the audience? Why are they going to give you potentially money, but definitely their time and contact information to show up for this? What do they think they're going to get out of it?
So that's another good question. I think it's in that order too, that you mentioned it. It's like, what are they going to get out of it? Oh, and how are you going to make money? And I think that's exactly how you need to order that. Is the first thing we thought about. It wasn't, okay, how much money, let's create an event that we can make money from. Though obviously that's the end result. It was, let's create an event that's a virtual event that we can co-share in, that we can just help the community, this measurement community that we're a part of. What would they want? And let's provide that. So it was very service focused. And oh, and by the way, by the end, if it works out, we'll make some money too, right? That was kind of like the afterthought part of it. So the energy went into making a really good event that people wanted. The way that we did it was we went out to, because obviously we're in the industry, we know the niche, we had connections. We knew some of the headliners in the industry, might be like guys like Simo Ahava, some people might be familiar with. And so we knew them, and we would go out to Simo Ahava, we would go out to Julius Federovicius over at analyticsmania.com, Yoshua over at Analytics Ninja, like all these individuals that we knew. And we asked them, hey, listen, do you want to present a topic we're going to do this virtual event. Julian's got a list. I've got a list. We have our current brand's marketing assets. We're going to promote it on our own. But if you want to be a part of it, that'd be great. And then they loved that idea. So they came on, and then we asked them to promote it as well. We didn't require it. We didn't do anything like that. It was more just like, hey, we've made some assets for you. If you want to promote it, tell your list that you're going to be on this virtual summit. And we made the virtual summit free, so that anybody can attend and go live. And then we just sell access to the recording. So if you want to keep access later, then buy the recordings. But if you just want to watch it live in real time, you can do that too. So that's how we did it. And that's how we promoted it. We started with just people emailing their own list. All the speakers just naturally wanted to say, hey, I'm a part of this thing, which was really cool. And back in the day, we had, I think it was 15 speakers total. that we had. And then this is 4 years in, right? So this is 4 years ago we started this. This most recent year we had over 40. And that's how it's grown by that audience. So now it's a platform that actually helped launch other experts in the field who do not yet have an audience, which is what we wanted it to do. We wanted to be able to say, let's talk to the keynotes, the people who have the list already, the celebrities in our industry, and get them to help out. But at the same time, use this as a platform that can then help create other experts in the industry, which has been good. So we can, again, the whole point is creating a virtual event that serves the community first and really emphasizing that as its mission. And then, yes, if you can secondarily create money out of it, so much the better, but serve the community.
So you had your own list, your partner had his own list, and obviously you benefited from grabbing these other presenters who also had their own list. What else did you do in terms of marketing? Did you spend any money on ads? Did you do any social media promotions or anything else like that? It was really the list that drove everything.
It was the list in the beginning. And I think this goes under my sort of one of the sayings that we have at measuremarketing.io in the academy. It's like we have the saying called good enough to get going, come back and make it better later. And that avoids that phrase helps get people out of the paralysis by analysis and getting stuck in all the little minutia of what's possible. And so because there's too many things possible, they never get started on anything because there's too many options. So in the beginning, we were like, hey, let's email the list. Let's see what happens. And I'll tell you, the other thing that we had is with a healthy set of expectations. Our goal, mind you, when we first started this was, I hope maybe we can get 1,000 people to register. Wouldn't that be awesome? And maybe to have 100 people show up live. That would be super cool. And that was the expectation we set. But right away, when we start seeing hundreds of people signing up, we're like, wow, we have the power of a really good offer. Like that's what it was. So we were, that's where it blew up. And when that happened, because we had so wildly surpassed our initial guess, we didn't think, well, let's go do ads now. Because we're like, well, we already are 10 times more than we thought. Let's just see if we can keep this thing running the first year before we go out and do everything else. Now, that fast forward, you would think year 2, year 3, year 4, we would get better at the paid media stuff. We would start adding that in. We would add in social media. And we really haven't ever effectively done that. And I think partially it's because while both of us are very good at the measurement side of things and taking care of our companies, we aren't so focused on the marketing side, believe it or not. So we don't have the resources to be able to dedicate to it. I think it would be bigger if we did. To be honest.
It definitely could be, whether or not you need to or not. I mean, sometimes there's a point where there's just not a value for bringing in more people, or maybe those aren't the right people who ultimately, you're trying to get in front of. Did you ever, or do you now have sponsors as ways of underwriting some of the expenses that you do?
Yeah. Or another good question. From year 1, we had sponsors that we put out there, just kind of like, hey, we're going to be doing this thing. If you want to do it, we just made up a number. I think the first one was 10 grand for the event sponsorship. Now it was the most recent time, it was 15 grand to sponsor the entire event, and then $5,000 for a day because it's like a 3-day event. So we would do those sponsorships. And from year 1, we did that. Now that said, I don't know that we're doing the best job of that, but that's probably on us from a business perspective because we're not so focused on the money aspect as much as we're like, let's make this a really good community asset. And then we can figure out, the whole idea is like build the community, build that market, build that reputation. And then the sponsorship stuff in theory would naturally go higher because people would start coming to us saying, hey, I've heard about this, even though I've never heard about them, right? Like we don't, because how else do you get sponsors, right? So what we did is we literally went to other events and saw who sponsored them and just started emailing them on LinkedIn. Just, hey, we're making this event if you guys are interested. And we found somebody that was, right?
It sounds very casual the way that you're describing it, but what is the offer that you make to them? I mean, like when you say it's $10,000 year 1, we think we're going to get 1,000 people asking for $10,000 seems like a high price, unless it's a very dedicated audience. And if that sponsor is literally just trying to get in front of that audience. So how much of that played into it? And did you offer them anything besides visibility? Did they get to present? Did they get lists? Like what was the tit for tat that you did with sponsors that first year?
Great question. So it was the sponsorship, right, was an afterthought in year 0, the first year, right? It was an afterthought. The reason it was an afterthought is because, again, we weren't saying, well, let's go ahead and create $1 million product. It was, let's create this really awesome event for the community because it's COVID and everybody needs a break. And that's where we did it. So we were like, oh, wait, we have 7,000 people. Maybe we should get a sponsor. So we didn't email sponsors saying we're expecting 1,000. At that point, we were emailing sponsors going, hey, by the way, we happen to accidentally have like 7,000 people registered for this event. By the way it looks, it's probably going to be over 10. Here's what it is. Here's what we think we can do. Here's how much we think it is. And by the way, we're totally open. If you want to do some other cool stuff, let us know. Right. And then what our initial package was their logos everywhere. We have all the sessions have video bumpers, intro and outros, and where it has their logo. So lots of brand impression logos and put their logo over the site and everything else. And we would also create a page, which we call a virtual booth. And the whole reason was just because like there's a real booth, right, that you have at the live events. You go to the little marketplace and they have a little booth. That's kind of what we wanted to create for sponsors. Like as a when you buy a booth at an event, they basically say, here's your 10 by 10 spot. It's got a table, 2 chairs. The rest is up to you. Right. So that's kind of what we did. We said, here's this template we have. It's this page that you can put whatever you want on it. Here's how it's laid out. You tell us what you want to put on it. So you have your virtual booth too. And then we would send traffic to the virtual booth. We would also do a dedicated email where we are sending the email under our brand. But we did not do co-reg, meaning we're not sharing the list with them, partially because no one ever asked for that. But I think even if they asked for that, we would say no, because since then people have. The reason we say no is because of data privacy, especially in our market. It's a measurement-focused market. Mm-hmm. So they're already going to be concerned about that because that's a big topic in our market. How do you deal with data privacy? How do you deal with who's got control over what? So it would be incongruent from a brand perspective to be like, we're all about data privacy. By the way, we gave your email out to 7 sponsors, without your permission. So we just don't do it. We keep it in-house for that. And I would imagine that's probably how it'll be, unless there's like if the sponsor wanted to build a list, we might send an email that says, hey, this sponsor is going to give you this, but you have to sign up for it. We would make some sort of opt-in thing for them. We would never just give it to them, but for that reason.
Talk to me a little bit about I know it's free to attend, and you have a VIP or a paid level where now I can access all the videos. Did you just have those 2 tiers, or are there other offers and things that people can get for, again, a higher price point?
Yeah, for now, just the 2. And I want to real quick go back to something else you mentioned. Just recalled you asked about it around is there a pay to play option? Like, can I sponsor get a talk? So in the beginning, the answer was no. Now we do include a talk, but what we do is we have a main stage and a second stage. So the main stage is 15, still the core top 15, sort of like consider those the keynote headliners. They're the live stream. So over 3 days, we do 5 a day for about 5 or 6 hours total. We're streaming those live streams, but we have another 30-ish, 25 or 30 other sessions that what we call the on-demand second stage. So we're just sitting there, people can play them on demand. We do give sponsors a slot in the second stage if they want that, because it's on demand. We didn't give them a slot on the main stage because we didn't want it to look like, oh, they just paid to show up. And then the sponsor just talks about themselves sometimes, because not all sponsors are great at delivering the content. We really wanted to protect the brand of Measure Summit, which is why we kept them delegated to that. That said, if there was a speaker that had a good topic that happened to be a sponsor too, and they deserve the main stage, we would still elevate to the main stage, but it wouldn't be because they're a sponsor. So I just wanted to sort of address that. The other thing is going back to your 2 levels. We have the free ticket, right? So free ticket holders, all you do is register, measuresummit.com, you sign up for the form, that's your ticket. You got a ticket for the next year. Then it's the recordings for that year with what we call the all access pass. So you get all the recordings. We then enhance them with transcripts. You can then download the videos. You can download the audios. You have a chat log with Q&A questions out of there too. So kind of like everything that happens around that session, the speaker slides, if we have them available, like any of that stuff gets packaged with that all access pass. So not only are you getting access to recording, you get access to all this other stuff to get the most from that session, right? It's kind of the idea. And then what we can do now that we couldn't do before, and we have not implemented this, but we're going to for this next year, is the vault. So the vault is another option where people can now, because we've been around for 4 years, and next year will be 5 years, our 5th year doing this event, the vault will unlock previous all access passes. So it's a natural upsell. We've never really had that before. We've only sold the all access pass. And again, I think that's to our detriment. I'm not saying that's what everybody should do. We just so focused on building the asset for the community that we haven't really done as good of a job on, okay, how much revenue can we squeeze out from this event? I think we could do more on sponsorships for sure. I think we could do more on products, right? Besides the all access pass, like what else do we talk about throughout the entire year? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? So here's an example of something I think about we can do with this list is lunch and learns. So we can sell little mini events, basically an hour-long webinar that's a product demo. So that's a measurement tool, let's say, right? So somebody's got a measurement tool that that's a new product that they want to get out, that it's on Product Hunt, right? Well, they can pay us. We can go to the list and say, listen, here's what this tool does. Here's a little bit about it. We're going to have them on for an hour-long conversation. And when you got a list of 15,000, it's not hard to get 100 people on an hour-long call, right? But imagine those 100 people that are showing up already know what the product is, potentially might be interested in it, want to see a demo of it and be able to ask questions about it. So it's a value for whoever's purchasing that hour to say, hey, I can get 100 possible qualified prospects at once and pitch. Like, that's a pretty good deal. And the Measure Summit list will be okay with that because they understood the deal. They know they're only signing up to see this product, So as long as we, I think, keep the messaging congruent, we can still take care of the community and improve revenue through other means that are not just during the summit itself, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what we're looking at, is how else do we make revenue throughout the year versus the one time a year event that we're doing.
Talk to me a little bit about your tech stack. What are the tools that you're using to do everything from registration to putting out the videos to making sure that everybody gets access to the files after the fact?
Great question. And I think this is a mistake I see a lot of people make, in my opinion, right? It's not to say that everyone has different ways of doing stuff, but what I see most individuals did in the beginning when they said, okay, well, let's do a virtual conference. And you saw, especially during COVID, it was like every other day there was a new platform coming out saying, oh, we're a virtual conference platform. You can just throw your conference, because you can't be live, we're going to give you this, you can do this virtual conference platform. And so you have these little pictures of tables and you got to drag your face around the table to go meet and greet. And the whole point was they were literally saying, well, this is what this is what you do in a live event. So let's do that exact same thing virtual. And we very quickly made that decision. That doesn't make sense. This is a virtual event. It needs to be treated virtual. You can't smash a live event into a virtual interface and expect it to work the same way. But that's what a lot of these tools do. So we kept it really simple. We just didn't WordPress. It still is a WordPress site. It's just a membership site, right? That we sell the permission. We sell a membership, essentially, that unlocks the recording. So we built it as a membership site. That's the model. It's super simple. The tech is easy. Now, the other thing I think that we did that we will continue to do, because it works really, really well, is we don't do the sessions live. We stream the sessions live during the live event because there is an open close window. But the individual sessions, with very, very few exceptions, the individual sessions themselves are recorded. They've been previously recorded. They've been previously edited. They look good. They have everything they need. And we essentially MC. So the MC part is live. So when Julian and I are presenting and we're co-hosting and we're talking about stuff, all of that is live. But when we say, okay, well, next up, we've got Simo Hala talking about how to do this, and this with server-side tag manager, we push a button and then Simo's pre-recorded session that maybe he did a couple weeks ago and has been edited. So it's still recent, still timely, but that goes through the stream now. The reason we did that was to avoid the technical glitches, because I've been on a lot of virtual events where you to this day, they still do it. I don't understand why they build a system like it, but they'll sit there and you hear hang on, John, can you hear me? John? Yeah, John's here. Okay, yeah, we just did. Okay. Hang on. Okay, we're still working on it. And that goes on for 10. And it kills the entire vibe of the event when that happens. You can't keep the momentum going. And when you have a 5-hour event for day one, and then you have to do that again for day 2 and day 3, you need to keep the energy up. And when you have those breaks, or when like I see some individuals, and nothing against it, because everything has its place, but I know some are like, okay, we're all going to go to this other Zoom link now. And everybody goes to a different Zoom link and watches the next speaker. You're going to have drop off. You're going to have it just is a break in the momentum. So what we did is when we created the site, we said, okay, we're going to create this dashboard. That will be the main video sort of stage, what we call the main stage. There's the main stage that plays that video. We just push it through Vimeo, right? So it's pretty easy tech, just goes through Vimeo and we live stream through there. And then on the right, we put a little chat widget. We just bought a chat room widget. So we have a live chat room. That chat room will have anywhere between, on the low end, maybe 400 people toward the end of the summit, but otherwise it'll be it maxes out at 1,000. And we've hit that a couple of times, but it's typically around 1,000. It's like between 600 and 1,000 people are always back there. So the chat room's streaming and it's got enough people where there's always that energy there. People are interacting with each other there. And then Julian and I, and this is where the social media stuff will come in, while the event's going on, we will talk about how people hashtag Measure Summit. So show me how you hashtag Measure Summit. And if you look at LinkedIn right now, you can go look for the hashtag Measure Summit. When you see it, you'll see a lot of people taking pictures of themselves with their computers, because they're showing, here's how I'm measuring something right now. And other people are doing coffee, and other people have the cat, and other people are doing whatever at work. And that creates the buzz and the energy during the event to keep the retention happening, right? To keep it fun. The other thing that we did on that, I know you didn't ask about this part, but just to keep it fun, is scavenger hunts. Because the thinking was, okay, In a live event, sometimes you get these little cards where they're like, hey, if you get your booth stamped, if you get your thing stamped by all the different people that are the sponsors, you get entered for a contest, right? So we're like, maybe we can do the same thing virtually. So we'll call it a scavenger hunt. So all the people, and we give also all the speakers got a virtual booth so they could have their products being pitched there. So we created a virtual scavenger hunt. We have to go through the virtual booths and answer questions like trivia questions, like what was the discount that Rich Brooks from Agents of Change gave when blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, he did this, right? Or what color shirt was he wearing in the video? Stuff like, because you had to go watch the video to see it. So you got exposure to the message that helped us, helping the speakers and the sponsors get eyeballs. And then you can be entered for prizes, which we got, of course, from speakers and sponsors. And we have a lot of prizes. So throughout the day, we're giving out prizes and doing that. So there's I think we gave out probably 30 different prizes this past one. It's a lot. So to the point sometimes where we're like, we can't figure out how to get them all away sometimes in between. But that's what creates that excitement and that energy and that ethos that I think is Measure Summit. And if anybody goes to LinkedIn, again, just look for hashtag Measure Summit. You'll see what people are saying about it. It's unbelievable, the reputation that it has. It's really golden. And I think it's golden because we really come at it, maybe too much so, but we definitely come at it as, how do we help this for the purpose of helping the community? And then secondarily, making money. If we came at it with the making money thing all the time as the first primary goal, I think we would probably be like other events. We would be a little bit more generic and we wouldn't think like how we think. But because we came from that root, I think it's given us a better foundation that now we can start thinking about more ways to build revenue from it, where the community would be like, yeah, of course, we also want it to be bigger. So now everyone's helping it grow.
So you mentioned that you actually have your speakers pre-record their sessions.
Yep.
Is there any live element? Is there a Q&A opportunity at the end of it? Or is it just like, it's the live stream and that's what you get? And how transparent outside of this podcast are you with the fact that these are pre-recorded?
Yeah, I'd say it's apparent that it's pre-recorded without it being, we don't make it obvious that it's pre-recorded. So here's an example of that. I'm wearing right now a hat and a green shirt, right? The black hat, green shirt. If I was recording your session, I would be wearing the Measure Summit blue shirt and not have a hat. Because on the day I stream live, I'm going to wear the Measure Summit shirt without a hat. So I want it to look the same. So there's continuity in the live stream. So even though we go to the session that I recorded with you, it's going to look exactly like what I'm wearing now. So I go from the live version of myself, I hit play to do the pre-recorded session. So it streams, I look the same, right? So the continuity is there. That said, there are going to be people in chat that will, because again, it mimics live, right? It's going to look like it's live. They'll start asking questions in chat. A lot of speakers, and this is not every speaker, but the ones that can do, they show up in the chat room and they start answering questions live. So which causes even more questions. At that point, there's always somebody who goes, oh, I thought these were all live, which I get because it looks like that. And then immediately somebody goes, yeah, they don't do that and they go through all the answers that we talked about because there's no technical glitches. The momentum's better. And then things just work and then we can keep to a time, right? Because nothing's getting slowed down and everything it just works like clockwork that way. So the whole chat room starts going, yeah, here's why they do that. This is even better, blah, blah, blah. And then the speaker can answer questions that even though people are listening to the speaker talking, they're answering slightly different questions and having conversations. So the chat room is actually more engaged at a deeper level because the speaker can focus on them for a half hour or an hour, depending upon how long the session is that they're doing. So it's worked out more positively than anything else when we do that.
So I get the benefit of doing it that way, and the speakers can show up and they can do Q&A. Is there, and you talk about keeping the energy up. So This may be getting into the weeds, but so one session ends, you are on there as the MC. How quickly before the next session starts? I assume that if you wait too long, the energy dips, people leave, they start checking emails. But at the same time, if one is like literally back up against the other one, suddenly nobody has a chance for a bathroom break and then they just get frustrated and leave.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's it's like, honestly, it's like emceeing a live conference. You guys did such a great job at the Agents of Change conference because you kept the momentum going. There wasn't like, okay, so what do you guys want to talk about? I got 15 minutes to kill on stage till the next speaker. Any questions? Like, it wasn't like that because then it would have killed the momentum. There was always something else. And they didn't have to think what it was. They didn't have to create that momentum. It was just them. It was there for them to participate in, right? So it's the exact same thing with a virtual event. So when Julian and I are emceeing, we have a split screen and you'll see both of our talking heads, right? And this is live. This is live when we're doing that. So we're streaming and we're talking back and forth. And so let's say this is your session that you did. Right after your session's over, it might come back to me and be like, okay, what's your hashtag one thing? Put it in the chat room. What did you learn from Rich's talk? Remember, go check out Rich's virtual booth over at Agents of Change or Take Flight or whatever Flight Media, whatever it is. It's got all of the information. We're doing that. And then it's like, all right, we're going to go through the one things here. Remember, we're about to do the scavenger hunt. So make sure you get those in right now. Now people are doing the scavenger hunts, right? While I'm talking to your stuff. And then I'm like, hey, Julie, what did you think was the highest? Now, we've already seen the sessions, so we have that pre-planned out. So, and we know we need to have it pre-planned out because we need to create so much momentum that it carries along, it pulls in the audience, right? Because they're not going to create momentum on their own. We have to create so much that it infects them and they want to participate with that conversation. And that's where the prizes come in, right? Surveys come in, hey, make sure you go to Rich's page and let us know. The speakers really want to know the feedback. We'll do other, especially in the measurement side, we do a big survey that we then put on Looker Studio so everybody can see like what the state of measurement is for 2023, and what all the, how big is your company and how do you handle budgets and what tools are you currently using? Are you using this tool more or less than last year, right? All of that. So everybody can then fill out the survey and then go see the results of what everybody else already filled out so they can compare themselves, So it's like we give them things to do in between those downtimes. And honestly, the problem we have is the opposite. We don't ever have dead air to fill. It's the opposite. It's, oh crap, we have to figure out how to do this in 3 minutes. We have 10 minutes worth of content to get in the next 3 minutes. How are we going to do it? And that tends to be more of the problem. So, and then what we'll do is like right toward the end, there might be a 2 or 3 minute thing that we'll do. Now we do play a commercial. Like we got that was something we added from sponsors. We asked them to send us a little video commercial. So let's say we have 5 minutes between the next session. We always try to start them at the top of the hour, like right on point. So maybe we got 5 minutes till the top of the hour. We'll say, okay, great. We're going to take a bio break. We're going to set everything up. We flip it over. We're playing the video. It's doing the 5 minute countdown. And in between there, we're playing the sponsor. Every once in a while, we'll run through a sponsor ad or something that they've given us. So that brings in the audio and the video. But meanwhile, yeah, people are going to check out and can do their bio breaks and grab a quick bite to eat at the desk or whatever they're going to do. Then at top of the hour, the session starts. Typically, we'll say at least 30 minutes of content with 10 minutes banner Q&A back and forth. That is already in the recording itself. And then when that ends, that's when it goes back to Julian and I being live. And then we MC it live and then pass back to the recording. That's how that works.
So, all right, I want to get back because I think we started talking about it and we got off topic, but the tech stack. So you're building this all on WordPress. What are you using to register people? What is the software you're using?
It's all WordPress, and then we have Keep. So we use Keep, Infusionsoft, the original Infusionsoft. That's what we're using. So it's just a web form that they fill out. Infusionsoft records them. That's what controls. In WordPress, the plugin we're using is called Membarium, which is a fantastic plugin for membership sites. I love it because it hooks directly into Infusionsoft or Keep, right? So I can tag you as, oh, you're a free ticket holder and you can only see what free ticket holders see. Or I can tag you as, oh, you now have the all access pass because you bought it. Now you can see what all access people can see. And it makes it so simple to run. But it's just a regular everyday membership site. We just happen to market it through this virtual event vehicle. Yeah, exactly right.
What happens after the event? So you've done all this work and it sounds, it's intense, I'm sure, for you for the 3 days that it's 2 or 3 days that it's running.
Oh, yeah. You block out the entire week for sure. Block out the entire week because your energy is drained. Yes.
And then when it's over, what kind of communication are you having with attendees, speakers, and sponsors after the event ends? How do you stay in touch with them or stay on top of things?
That is the question of the century, because this is basically what we used to do. Year one, this is how it went. We went, hey, thanks everybody for going to Mercer Summit. Make sure you fill out this survey. Let us know how we did, right? We get the feedback survey. And then 9 months later was the next email they got. Now, why was that? Well, partially because Julie and I have we have our own companies, right? So we're really focused on that. Mercer Summit was just a one-time sort of launch thing at the time. So we didn't plan to have constant nurturing or anything else. And to this day, we still miss the mark on that. We're better at it now, but we didn't know what else to email them. So we didn't have, and it's 9 months away. It's a year away at this point, right? The next Mercer Summit, right? 8 months now, 9 months now. So what do you talk to somebody about? And it was like, well, we don't have time to solve that problem right now because I have to work on something with the Measure Marketing Academy, or he doesn't have time to solve that problem because he's got to work on something with Measure Master. So we just let it sit there. And that's honestly what happened. It's not what you should do. It's a huge, massive opportunity for that brand, for us to get there. And that's what we're talking about for this year, believe it or not, for this exact reason is what are we doing? Every year, we just sort of do this one-time launch and then ignore everybody for a year, not because purposeful, just because it's happening, but it's still what's happening. We're ignoring the list for a year and we have to rebuild it almost every year because it's corporate. It's a very corporate list. So corporate emails spin faster than personal emails. And that was a hard lesson to learn that first time, because we're used to it. Our own individual brands have a lot of individual emails, personal emails, so they don't disengage as fast. But in corporate America, or corporate world, you're moving jobs around all the time, so they die faster, and we had to learn that lesson. But we're still not good at it. But the intention is in 2024 that we are mailing at least on that monthly basis about something coming up or something in the community, and that's where the lunch and learn concept came from. So at least we can talk about that. Maybe we can do some state of measurement style surveys to do some nurture stuff. Maybe we can just push other speakers' content and say, hey, did you see Shimo Hava's latest thing where he talked about this? Wanted to let you know. And we can come up with some sort of weekly recap newsletter for that crowd. But again, it's if they want it, because I don't want to just force it on them, because a lot of people just want to sign up for the summit and then they're done. So I think that the biggest thing we can do on that list is really tighten up the engagement campaign. So if they're not engaged in 60 days after Measure Summit, they're gone. And let's just start rebuild when we do the new promotions in Q2 is when the biggest promotion stuff starts hitting to rebuild the list. But it's definitely an opportunity for sure.
You have a unique challenge in the fact that it's two different companies, right? If it was just measurement marketing putting it on, then you could easily just do a weekly or monthly email that's like, hey, here's all the new things that are going on in the world of measurement, and be done with it. But that is a challenge in terms of like who's going to create that content and who's going to be responsible for it.
Yeah, and I think to that point, that is different, because the Measure Summit is a unique brand. And we think about it like that. There's measurementmarketing.io, there's Measure School, which is Julian's, and then we've got Measure Summit, which is ours. And we think about them separate. If we had just said, oh, this is a product of measurementmarketing.io that Julian happens to help with, right? That would have been probably easier for us, but it wouldn't have been that partnership connection that Julian and I needed. We needed to be co-producers of it. Both brands needed. And that's why we created a separate brand. That's a really good point, though, because the structure is probably what's caused that. You're right.
But it's one of those strength weaknesses thing that also could be how you're able to build community, because it's not just around a singular brand. This is the foremost community virtual summit for measurement marketing. So awesome stuff. This has been great, Mercer. Thank you so much for stopping by yet again and sharing your wisdom with us. When is the next measurement summit that's going to be put on? Do you have a date for it set up?
So not a firm date yet, but it typically tends to be in October of every year. So we just recently finished up the one for, in October 2023. So my guess is it'll be sometime in October 2024, but everybody can check out the latest just at measuresummit.com. And you'll see whatever the latest dates are, we'll have them there on that homepage.
Sounds good. And you'll hit me up when it starts getting closer so I can share that date with our audience here at Agents of Change.
Absolutely. Consider it done.
Awesome. Mercer, if people want to learn more about you, where can we send them online?
Absolutely. So if they want to learn about Measure Summit, just measuresummit.com. We'll keep it easy there. If you want to learn more about what we do at the Measurement Marketing Academy and the training and toolkits that we have, you can just go to measurementmarketing.io/AOC, and that'll take us there for Agents of Change.
Love it. Mercer, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Rich.
Man, Mercer has so much good stuff to share, whether he's talking about summits or GA4 or measurement. I know that my entire team really relies on him for his insights on how to make the most of Google Analytics. All right. So if you missed anything, or if you want a full transcript or even just the AI summary of today's episode, just head on over to our website. You can find everything at theagentsofchange.com/520. And while you're there at the website, be sure to check out the information about our upcoming Digital Marketing Summit. If you're thinking that you'd like to speak at the summit, then please go ahead, check out the call for speakers page. And if you're interested in a sponsorship, go and check out those pages or just reach out to me. I am the Rich Brooks on every social media site. Plus, you can just use the contact form at the website. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast. We've got tons of great speakers and experts lined up, topics that are really going to drive your business in 2024. And you can do that on your favorite podcasting platform, because that's what an agent of change would do.
Don't miss another thrilling episode of the Agents of Change podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.